Shall we have a look at the actual specific classes then?
Yeah, sure.
So we'll kick off with Craig running us through them.
Yes.
We've got 8 classes, 6 of which have a core attribute, and the core attribute is important because it determines what skills they've got and how you want to build your particular character. So using the strength attribute, you've got soldier and constable. So you've got, remember what terms again, you've got main tank and off tank, or DPS tank. And the soldier is an offensive character, so that the whole point of them is to be up for action. They just want to get involved in the fight straight away as quickly as possible. And the constable is definitely a defensive-oriented character. They're more about thinking before they act and assessing the situation before it spirals into...
Yeah, it's all about, for the constable, so come along quietly, let's not cause a disturbance.
Yeah.
So with the soldier, I understand that you've highlighted a couple of skills and abilities that maybe to give example of in these classes.
Well, the characters break down into 3 subsections of skills. So you've got constitution-based classes skills, which increase their health and their survivability. You've got combat awareness, which is their DPS, how much damage they're going to put out, and also veteran, war veteran, which is their ability to tactically assess situations and then turn it to their best advantage. So that's how the soldier breaks down into.
Right. When you say war veteran, think of the old guy that's been there. He's been in the Corps for years. He's been there, seen it all. The archetypal sergeant, sergeant major.
Yeah. I mean, just using the war veteran again, the 3 skills that are tied to that are Nerves of Steel, Rock Steady Aim, and True Grit. Now, Nerves of Steel, doesn't matter what they've seen everything. They've seen every level of atrocity in every war front, and nothing frightens them anymore. It doesn't faze them. It's just because it's another body.
Yeah.
And you've got Rock Steady Aim, regardless of what's coming towards them, whether it's a rampaging horde of fuzzies, or whether it's...
Can you say fuzzies?
Probably not, but it is Victoriana. But they're not going to be upset by facing down an opponent. They're somebody screaming, shouting, brandishing a weapon at them, or under a fusillade of fire. Right. They're not going to blanch from that, and they'll be able to hold their aim true and shoot. Yeah. And True Grit as well. Similarly to Nerves of Steel, they're not going to run away from a fight. They'll stand there until either they've won or the opponent's won.
So these are skills that can specifically level up.
Yes, yeah.
As you use them successfully.
That's right. Yeah.
That's cool. So on to the constable then.
Constable, we've got again, it's a strength based. So we've got the 3 subsections. You've got a veteran Bobby. So again, it's more about the health, their ability to their experience. So they're an older constable. They've seen what criminals are up to. So they can. They've got iron constitution, similar to the soldier has that, so it increases the amount of health that they've got. A criminal understanding, so they can break down and they can look at a marketplace full of people and pick out the ones that are likely to be up to a nefarious deed. And also first strike, because as we all know, when we were kids, well, me and Jess do anyway, one of the best things, or one of the key armaments that a policeman would have is a good cuff around the ear.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's right. And a way of doing that is getting in there first.
Yeah.
So their reaction time is much faster, so it's a case of a good swat across the back of the head.
They can see it coming, and they because they've been there before.
Yeah.
So again, these characters are sometimes in age terms within the game, they're maybe not sort of young. I mean, everyone plays someone that's 23 because everyone would like to stay at being 23 because you're fit, you're young, and you're good looking. Whereas some of these characters are probably a bit old and grizzled and
yeah, and that's the whole point of it is you can tailor the character to the level of age or experience that you actually want to start playing as.
So what's the next one you've got for us?
We've got Cutpurse, which is next. Do you want to do that one, Jez?
Well, we've kind of spoken through the variations that you could have within the cut purse. They're primarily an agility-based class. Skills, pickpocketing, obviously, lock picking, speak for themselves, but also they're good at blades. They'd be good because they're nimble. They'd be good at fencing, being able to and feint, which is duck out of the way. And then they've got a furious assault, which again is all about dodging and getting through and giving it some stab. Not necessarily high damage,
but lots of little.
But lots of little.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like an ambushing type skill. Ambush is one. First strike, very similar to the constable's skill, but it comes from the nature that if they're ambushing, they're probably hidden, so they can leap out and stab. Ambidextrous. Yeah, they'd be. It's very hard to pick locks one-handed, I suspect. Not that I've ever picked a lock in my life.
Oh, you liar.
Well, they all keep to the same sort of format. You've got like 3 general main tree areas, and then like at the moment a set of 3 skills in each one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
That's the prototype that you're working with.
Yeah.
That's prone to change. Everything they're saying is prone to change here because it's still being developed in alpha.
Very much in alpha stage.
Yeah. But the way we want the classes to build up, though, we don't specifically want you to spend experience to gain other skills. So if, like at many other games, you get to the end, you kill the boss, and you gained like 300 experience, and you spend that on another skill that you've not learned up until magically you've spent experience on it. Your character comes with those skills, and these skills are pertinent to this particular story arc. And then you gain skills that are going to be dependent upon the next story arcs.
Yeah, if you're playing as a constable, for example, you've been through police training college, you would have a knowledge of all these skills.
Right, so unlike some systems, this is really, really tailored for you to make real loads of use of the modules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really advised then that everyone have a crack at your modules because of the synergy. Then.
Yeah, I mean that's not to say that the any player-made content wouldn't be welcomed. Certainly, when we get to that point where, by all means, I mean, we hopefully at one point when we've got the website up and running properly, we want a forum where people can post all of their.
Please save us some work.
Yeah,
or just plagiarise your ideas.
It's about the community more than anything. And
so you'd actively encourage them to get involved. And,
absolutely, definitely, we want to see. It's not just about our creativity; it's about everybody's creativity. What we can.
I mean, who's to say that there's not someone out there that's got this absolutely blinding idea for a storyline?
Yeah.
I mean, even if they've only got the idea for it, and they go, "Why don't you do so and so, so and so?" We go, "Geez, that's a brilliant idea. Why didn't we think of that?"
Yeah.
And credit where credit's due. We credit people with having their input. Be that in just having your name on the box because you had a good idea about something small, or as a co-creator of a completely new set of rules
or module
or whatever.
Indeed.
And recompense would equal that. We might buy you a beer, or we might buy you a car. Probably more likely to be a beer.
If you're lucky.
If you're very lucky. Just a small.
Yeah. Small beers. Big beers for us.
Yes.
So next up we've got the Explorer.
Explorer class, yes. We've tried to make the Explorer, I suppose if you're going back to MMO terms, he's a ranger.
Right.
It's all about tracking, hunting, map making, knowing where you are all the time, pushing the boundaries, making sure the map always stays pink. A bit of a loner, not necessarily a team player, being able to live on his own wits, adaptable. It's agility based, going through the skills very quickly. Dead eye shot, well, it means just that. He's going to be a good shot. Hunting rifles, quick load. He's going to be adept with his guns. Again, ranged attack, typical ranger. He's also going to be foraging, so the ability to support himself wherever he is. Tracking, camouflage. That's just an example of the bits and pieces that we've got down here. I'm not going to go through all of them because some of them haven't been properly worked through yet.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure the guys appreciate getting a bit of insight into what you're thinking at the moment at this stage.
But again, an explorer, even if he's not out in the wilds of the jungle, is all about. Well, I wonder what's round that corner. Yeah. Oh, I know a way to get there. He sort of guy that would know the London Underground map off by heart.
Other classes we've got are engineer and doctor. Clearly, we spoke about doctor before. They're more the research and surgery, or surgically based. Of the healer profession, it's all about. Crikey! It's about having lightning reflexes to able to adapt to surgeries, accidents, or some unforeseen circumstances whilst they were performing surgery. Another key one of theirs is steady hands, because clearly if they're poking around inside somebody with a scalpel, you don't want to be nicking something that you shouldn't be.
What, stealing?
Indeed, yeah.
Like a brain.
Yeah, but also you have the research side of it. So you've got logical mind, which is botany, deductive reasoning, and chemistry. So they have the ability to understand the flora of our world and manipulate it to their ends, whether it be healing, poisoning, so on.
I mean, there's nothing to say that, for instance, a GM couldn't adapt it their own way and say, right, well, this player wants his doctor to be an alcoholic. Yeah. So every time he gets a little fix, he's got plus 10 to his his steady hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if he hasn't had a drink, he's minus 10.
Again,
a GM could apply that, couldn't he?
Absolutely, yeah, and
modify as he so wishes.
Yeah. There are even,
and it doesn't break the game, does it? Because it's so simple.
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, with the GM system as well, that sort of thing with the module would actually probably be encouraged. So depending on the GM's mode at that particular time, you are either going to get a plus 10 or a minus 10 to that particular skill.
Yeah.
Depending on how the GM wants to play with you, as opposed to you playing with the module.
Yes.
But all these little things that are character quirks, and they're what makes your character within Empirium.
Yeah.
A character, an individual, rather than just a warrior, a cleric, a DPS, or a shaman.
So you're going to really try and encourage people to come up with quirks, really? Then
we want people to create people.
Yeah, we've put a few quirks in there, a couple of them. One specifically that you're never able to keep money in your pocket; you always lose it. So they'll never that particular character will never have any more than, say, a couple of guineas, and they'll never ever be able to keep. And if you give them a big bag of money, they'll lose it or forget where they've put it or
spend it, or waste. Usually waste it, gamble it, or.
Or get pickpocketed any particular way that the GM so chooses, if that's a particular quirk, because you go through life and you meet people and it doesn't matter how much money they earn, they never seem to have more than 2 coins to rub together.
That's me.
And quite often me. But that's the whole point of it. They can't keep money. They can't hold it. They can't hoard it. They can't earn vast quantities of it because it just gets spent or lost. Other quirks, they might be particularly hardy, so they could be a very good patient. So when they are requiring of healing, they'll again benefit from their quirk because they're placid and understanding, and they accept what the doctor's saying to them. And alternatively, you've got one where they are not a very good patient, so it actually hinders their healing because they're fighting against the advice of the doctor. As we all do. I mean, it's like, well, I'm not doing that. Doctor said I can't walk for a week. Yeah. Stuff that.
Someone might be a hoarder and walk around with pockets full of stuff, to the point where it's it could be advantageous. Could you say we've got a bit of string and someone goes, I've got one here somewhere. But then again, it's going to slow them down, or they could want to pick everything up. Yeah.
Or if they're creeping around the corner and you've got lots of tins and stuff clanking and clinking away in your pocket. And that's how the GM can.
I mean, if I was GMing a doctor in the group, I might be tempted, if he was to be that kind of doctor, to have him be able to be a really bad patient because he is a doctor.
That's
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
That would be a cool
You know,
thing.
he knows too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you've got the engineer, haven't you?
Yeah. The engineer definitely is not the sort of character that as an archetype you could attach, or you couldn't attach an archetype to it, simply because it doesn't really have an archetype. It's what you want it to be. So the breakdown of their skills, you've got blacksmithing, mechanical engineering, and metallurgy. So if you want your character to be, or your engineer to be a steam engineer, he's going to be developing all of the steam-based skills. If you want him to be a clockwork machinist, he's going to be developing all the clockworkiness.
Yeah.
Or he could even be a gunsmith or something like that. And those are skills that are factored into that character. So he's more of a researcher, crafter than a killer.
For example, in the first chapter, if you like, no, second chapter actually, there's an instance where there's and I won't give too much away, but there's a boiler that needs to be lit. Now anyone can light it, but a steam engineer will light it properly.
Yeah.
And A, it will work, and B, it stands a lot less chance of blowing up.
And might not, won't blow up or blow out.
Or blow out, yeah.
Right.
And we did, if you remember, we did actually play this module, and someone tried to light it, and it went straight out again.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the steam engineer skill.
From what you're saying there, with it being research-based ones as well, and metallurgy and things like that.
Yeah.
The idea of like refining ore and such. What you're looking at with some of those skills as being sort of like non-game session time skills, aren't you? And possibly some that are actually game time skills in some of the classes.
All the classes are going to have skills that they'll probably develop out of game turns, or game time, I should say, in their downtime between each mission chapter.
So could you give us an example of like the engineer, how that might work? They might be able to do an out of game time advancement.
With the description of the skills, it's more about a discussion to be had with the GM, and as long as it's accepting with the GM, and the GM will determine, again using coin flips, a sensible amount of time it would take for them to extract the raw materials to begin to manufacture what their intention is, and the GM would also govern how much of a skill gain they would gain from developing that. And it's like drawing blueprints, extracting or resourcing bits and bobs, pipes, widgets, so on.
If you want to build a full-size model of the Titanic out of raw materials, going from digging it out of the ground, it's going to take a good damn long time. But if you want to assemble a little model steam engine from a kit, then it's game time. It's a couple of hours.
Yeah, but also all of these skills could actually be implemented within a module as well, depending on the GM. So if you've got a particular, if they're in a dungeon crawl, or if they're somewhere in a cave and you see some ore and he can identify what the ore is, and there might be a way of, if he's worked at a mine, depending on your character's background, he might know a way of like splitting the ore or getting through from one passage to another without being and actually causing damage along the way.
I'm sure that all this is prone to change somewhat again once it all gets blasted open into beta, because people have really good ideas.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is definitely very much alpha stage. So,
So, I mean, those are the fixed classes that you're working on at this alpha stage. Then,
yeah, they're, if you look at them, they're based solely on strength, agility, or intellect.
Yes.
The first three requisites, if you like.
Yeah. We've got two more of the characters. We've got detective and field scientist, and they're a mash of two of the other classes.
Right.
So a detective is a mash between a cut purse and a constable, because often they've either worked as a constable, and they've had a case that they've been unable to solve, and they've left the force to devote their time to this, and they've, due to their underworld connections, as it were, they get to pick up the skills that a cut purse would have, so lock picking and that sort of thing, or pickpocketing, to try and get the information that they need to crack that elusive case. You have field scientists who are a mashup of the explorer and the doctor. So they have the ability to research and understand the flora and fauna of the world around them, and they also have the skills to go and explore, find it, take samples, and bring it back to the Western world that can actually make use of it.
So, I mean, with this being planned releases over time, you buy the first one and then more product will come, and then more product, telling the story. You're looking at also expanding the classes, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. As your characters travel the world, they'll gain more skills and more experiences, and that's where the modules will come in. So it's not to say that you have to do it that way. If you've got player content or GM content and so on, they can do it that way as well.
And you're looking at introducing new ones eventually, aren't you, as expansions?
Yeah. Yes. As I said in the other video, we ended up with about 20, 30 different classes. But particularly the ones that we're going to be introducing at some point fairly quickly, I suppose, in comparatively to when we released.
So what's some example ones then?
Well, you've got pugilist, so backstreet boxer.
Yeah. Unarmed combat, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially. Doesn't really want to be going to wading in with a rifle or whatever. I mean, it's more about the whole point of getting in there and having a good old Queensborough rules fisticuff.
Can't argue with a punch in the face.
No. Well, you could, but you generally get another one.
Yeah.
And you have clairvoyant, which is definitely a charlatan, somebody that's a confidence trickster that is going to convince you or their audience of things that aren't actually there.
You were very, very careful to point out that they don't have any actual psychic powers.
No, none whatsoever.
There is no such thing as psychic powers within the world of Empirium.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean to say that people within the world don't believe that there are.
Yeah.
But it's just like modern clairvoyance and what have you. Sorry if you're a clairvoyant, but I think you're making it up. They're about reading people. They're about suggestion.
Yes.
The power of suggestion and manipulating people round to their way of thinking, or maybe doing what they want them to do. So it's a manipulative class.
Well, there's no irrefutable proof into psychic behaviour, is there? However, there is proof of charlatans.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely,
in our past, yes.
Yeah, and it's our game, and it's our game world, and that's what we say.
The guy that could turn the pages of the thing by just gently blowing on them and
exactly.
That's right. Yeah. Another class that we're likely to introduce at some point is a puppet master. So they're kind of like a clockwork machinist, because all of the puppets that they would be controlling would be clockwork.
Maybe.
Probably. Maybe.
Or some other nefarious way of controlling them.
Possibly.
Might
not going too far.
Might not be all clockwork.
But anyway, they would have minions, essentially, that they would have control over.
Cool.
So a pet class, going back to MMO terms.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And then we've got, I'm looking at Craig's notes here, and there's at least half a dozen that we would be looking to bring in within the first expansion, if you like. Again, going back to MMO terms. And the world will have to adapt to accept these people. These we will make sure that within the Empirium world that there's a place for them to be. I think it's important that the world's seen as dynamic and evolving, and that everyone can get something out of it as far as the gameplay is concerned.
Yeah. So it's back to storytelling. You're not limiting just simply because you choose to be a class. It doesn't mean that your character or your persona in the game world is limited to that particular thing. It's you playing that person. If you are a doctor in real life and you fancy being a soldier, you can play a soldier and be a bull-headed, pig-ignorant soldier that's just going to go, barreling into whatever situation.
Yeah. Or consequently, or by the same token, you could be a pugilist that happens to be a chess master. You get people playing chess boxing, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And why not? You could be a thief that only steals from the rich and gives to the poor. There's a good idea.
That's already been done.
Oh, damn it! But there's no you must. We don't want to ever say you must, you have to. This is the way it is.
Yeah, it's how you want to play your character, because at the end of the day, it's your character. And if you don't make the identifying connection with that character, it makes it pointless. So you know, you're not gonna want to play if you have no connection to it.
Mm.
Well, there you go then. That's a rundown of the classes in this steampunk setting. Are you going to play as the steam? Are you going to play as the punk? Or are you going to play as something else? That's the initial opening of what you can expect in the first release, and to give you more of an insight into Imperium there, yeah. Stay tuned for more information of this appearing specifically on this channel, and they'll get a website up and running
eventually
that you'll see content on as well. But until next time, well, I'll see you at the Steam Workbench.
Ooh.